Hi, I'm Rob Skeoch, and I'm a career photographer. And throughout my career, I've shot a lot of black and white film. Now, one thing I've always loved in a black and white print is a great dark sky with those beautiful white fluffy clouds. Now, how do you get that? Because if you take a roll, like in this case, I've got a roll of Pan F film, 35 millimeter. You take a roll of film and you take a photograph, the sky goes white. It's blue when you look at it, it's white in the print. How do you make that sky darker? Well, what you're going to have to do is add color filters to your lens when you're taking the black and white shot. Now, throughout the decades, Nikon has done an amazing job standardizing lenses with the same filter size, because the filters are not inexpensive. They used to be cheap, but everything's expensive now. And so you want to get a few different colors, but you don't need them in different filter sizes. Like, you don't need to add to the expensive things. So Nikon has done an amazing job standardizing on their prime lenses with a filter size. So basically, from 20 millimeters, I think, to maybe 200 millimeters, all of these old manual focus lenses, these AIS lenses, almost all of them used a 52 filter. Now, there was a couple, the 85 and the 180, they used a larger filter, so you might have needed to get two sets. But they weren't all over the place. They generally used a 52 filter. And you can get inexpensive adapters. They have no glass in them. They adapt the lens and filter sizes. If you've got one size of filter and the lens is a different size, you can adapt that inexpensively. But you want to get a few filters, and Nikon has done a great job standardizing on the 52 filter size. So what have I got here? The first filter, now this is yellow. This is a B plus W 022. Do you have to get B plus W? No. They're a premium. Do you need a premium? I don't think so, but you need a good filter and you need a yellow one. Now, there's a couple of drawbacks or a couple of issues with the filter, the yellow filter. First off, it sucks up one stop of light. So if you were shooting at f8, now you're shooting at 5.6. If you're shooting at 1 second, now you're shooting at 2 seconds. So the filter uses one stop exposure. The weird thing is, when you meter through it, it should be fine, but when I metered through it with my handheld meter, it was only like a third of a stop. So I've been compensating one stop for years. I'll have to do a little bit of testing because my meter says it's only a third of a stop, but I find that hard to believe. Anyways, that's what the meter said. I'll test it and get back to you. So with the yellow filter on my Pan F film, now I'm shooting Pan F. It's a 50 ISO Ilford film, black and white, straight black and white. 50 ISO is the box speed. I shoot it at 32, and so I'm overexposing, and I'm cutting back on my development time a little bit because I don't want those whites to go too dense on the negative. I don't want them to block up. I want to withhold. I want to hold detail in the whites. So I'm cutting back on my development time, and I'm overexposing, about 2/3 of a stop. Now with the 022, this yellow filter, my sky is starting to darken. So any white clouds, they're not getting affected by this because this is darkening blue and lightening yellow. So my blue sky is starting to darken. My white clouds are staying the same. So that's how I can get those white fluffy clouds against a darker background. So this is Pan F film with the 022 yellow filter. Now the next filter, more useful in my view, is the orange filter. Now this is a B plus W 040. Does it have to be B plus W? No, but it's orange. And technically it's dark yellow, deep yellow I think they call it, but it looks orange to me. If the yellow filter uses one stop of light, the orange is using 2 stops of light. So you've got to open up, compensate 2 stops of light for the orange filter, this 040. Now what is it doing? It is darkening the blues to a greater extent. So I've got my white clouds, and I've got my sky that used to be white, but it was really blue in real life, and I've darkened it a bit with this orange filter. So that's kind of the effect I want. Of all the filters I have, I use the orange the most. Now, when you go into a store to buy a filter and the guy doesn't know what he's talking about and he's just selling you something, he's going to sell you a red filter. The reds I don't use that much. The sky goes too dark and the rest of the picture is altered too much. So I don't generally use the red. The orange is the most useful. Now there is a couple of drawbacks with the orange. As I said, it's darkening blue, it's lightening orange, it's lightening yellow, orange, red. What does that mean? Well, that means if it's the fall and you've got these beautiful fall colors and you use an orange filter, in your final print, those orange leaves are going to be kind of white. And they're not going to be cool white. They're not going to be interesting and neat like infrared shot. They're going to look weird. So you've got to be a little bit sensitive to that and a little bit careful in the fall. If you've got the orange fall leaves, maybe be careful with an orange filter. You don't want to lighten those orange colors so much that they're just white in your photo. Maybe that's when you would use the yellow. But for most shots with the sky, I use an orange filter. Landscapes, for sure, you would use an orange filter. Architecture, for sure, you would use an orange filter. Street photography, I might use the orange, but you're giving up 2 stops of light. So I might use a yellow. I do like to have a darker sky in my street photography. I don't want it to be white, but the orange filter itself, it might just be too much light that I'm giving up. I've got to keep that shutter speed up to a 500th of a second. I want to be at, a 500th of a second at 5.6 or something like that. I might not have enough light to use an orange, so I'll use a yellow in that case. I do have different sets. They're all the same. They're all B plus W. They're all 022s and 040s. I've got them for the Hasselblad, and I've got them for the Leica, and I've got a set of 52s that fit on the Nikon. So orange filter is probably the most useful. 2 stops of light. Just be a little cautious in the fall with the orange trees. The other thing to remember with the filters and the sky is the sky darkens more at altitude. So at sea level, the sky is a certain color and it will come out a certain tone in your black and white photo. But as you go into the mountains, the sky will become darker. So that's just something, again, to remember. In altitude, if you're shooting the mountains, that orange filter is really going to darken the sky. And that might be good, but you just want to be aware of it. You just want to, make sure you're getting the results that you were expecting. Now, the other thing I want to just show here is there's a film Ilford Ortho Plus, which is kind of like a specialty film, but people talk about it, people are shooting with it and that. And this is a shot with the 35mm Ortho Plus film. So this Ilford Ortho Plus, it's not totally new film. It's actually an old concept, an ortho film, but people are experimenting with it, and I've started to experiment with it. Right now, it looks to me like a Pan F shot with no filter at all. The sky seems white, but I'll play around with this ortho film a little bit more down the road and see what people are all excited about. But these are a few shots. Again, Pan F film, shot at ISO 32, under processed. I've got it no filter. Sky's white, don't like it. I've got yellow filter. I can start to see the clouds. The sky is going a little bit darker. I've got orange filter. I like that. It's a straight print here, but a little bit of a burn, a little bit of a dodge, and all of a sudden it's not a bad photograph. Every photograph needs to be burned and dodged a little bit. You got to bring those corners down in the darkroom. But the orange filter happens to be the 040 by B&W, but any of the orange filters will work. Gives you that nice sky. Darken the sky, clouds stay white. Fantastic for landscapes. Give it a try.